Good morning, everyone. Wow, another new morning, another new day. The Aurum podcast is back after taking a short break of a few weeks to recharge, to re-energize. We are back. Happy to be back here at this podcast this morning on this chilly June. Oh, it's almost July, June morning, and I'm so glad to be here with you. I'm your host, Anthony Kuria, and as before I continue, we've been away for a while. It's good to remind people what is this podcast all about? Who is Aurum Consultants? What do we do here? And Aurum Consultants is a consultancy specialized in human resource and risk advisory. And we focus our attention on resolving difficult human capital and business challenges. You know, as we step out to do what we do, our vision is to create, to strengthen and streamline HR systems and processes for SMEs. The things that we go about sorting out pain points for business people, especially in regards to HR, legal application, and statutory compliance. We deal with inefficient and ineffective business processes, especially as they relate to human resources. And we also help companies deal with talent management. The solutions we offer is helping SMEs, corporates, comply with labor laws, streamlining their HR processes, and providing financial indemnity solutions to business risk. Therefore, this Aurum podcast, is geared specifically on those issues. We also our services involve things like HR outsourcing, HR administration. We do training, we do payroll administration, risk assessment and advisory, and we also do recruitment. I'm so glad to be here. I'm feeling ready to go with this thing. And with me, also ready and energized, is our in-house HR consultant, Zipporah Kuria. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning. Good morning to you all. Good morning, Mother.
Good morning, Zippy. Good morning, Tony.
Yes, and Martha is our HR expert. Wakati kunaleta kizungumkuti, Martha is here to help us unknot. Martha is like Daniel of old, helps us unknot difficult questions when it regards to HR. Martha Thuku, karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Tony, for that introduction. And I still want to remind our viewers that I work with LVCT Health. And it's an organization, we deal with HIV, but mostly we are very big on mental health issues, counseling. And thank you so much. I have gotten reports from our Department of Counseling and Mental Health. We have gotten people from this forum who have come in and they have been helped a lot. Thank you for your support and keep coming because these mental health issues are there. We have gender-based violence issues. Even we deal with specific mental health issues for individuals and corporates. And you're welcome. And if you need these services, you can contact Zippy and Tony, they'll give you our contact. But you can also go to our website at lvcthealth.org and you'll find our contacts and you come in and we'll support you. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Mother. Thank you for introducing us to LVCT, letting us understand what you guys do. And indeed, as you said, we have been cooperating. We have been doing a bit of cooperation with LVCT Health on issues to do with mental health because they are very critical at the moment. Today is a big day because, as I said, we took a bit of a break, but we are back with a bang. And our focus today is employee disciplinary, the process and procedures of doing it right. Now, before I continue, if you have any question, you're listening in, you'd want, as we keep discussing, you have some questions here and there, you'd like to understand, how do I handle certain issues relating to employee discipline? How am I supposed to react if I'm called for a disciplinary session on all that? You can send your You can send your comments on the chat. That is, if we are live on Facebook, if you have any comments, please send them as we are continuing to discuss, and we will be glad to be able to solve them. Now, employee disciplinary matters. This is a topic that many people don't like, and I can assure you, Zippy, I'm sure both you and Martha know, from an employer management point of view, and also from an employee point of view, this is not a subject, unless you're from the military or something. This is not a subject that is you dive in enjoying and say, I love doing disciplinaries, I love disciplining people. Or obviously, unless you have a problem, I love being disciplined. That it doesn't work that way. But when it comes to the workplace, the issues of employee disciplinary management are inevitable. They have to be dealt with. It's something we don't like. It's like, I don't know, it's like going to the dentist or, getting an annual medical checkup. You don't know what will come out, but you have to do it. I mean, if you're sensible, if you're running a business, you've got to know how to handle disciplinary management. Now, the thing that comes to me, and I'm sure most of our viewers, if I would speak for them, the issues of employee discipline or disciplinary issues are some of the biggest headaches for most employers.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for switching that phone off.
Yeah,
yes,
I forgot
employee
that.
disciplinary issues are some of the biggest headaches for most employers. Now, my question would be, how come that it is such a big thing? Let me give Zippy first to take us off, and then Martha to take it to the stratosphere. Tell us, Zippy, why is it such a big deal?
Thank you, Anthony, for that question. And I think this is a question we always ask ourselves: why is it that we struggle with employee disciplinary issues? Why is it that we have disciplinary issues in the first place? And one of the things I think we need to be aware of, especially as employers, is that we have a great deal of responsibility in maintaining law and order at the workplace. It's our responsibility to make sure we have a conducive working environment. We have people who understand what is expected of them. They understand what are the rules and the regulations of the organization. And that is actually the responsibility of the employer. And a lot of times, we fail to actually help employees understand what are these rules and regulations that are governing our organization. What is
Yes.
expected of me as an employee? And sometimes when we don't lay out this very clearly, what happens? We start having challenges. Sometimes challenges that don't seem like they are challenges. For instance,
Yes.
an employee will decide not to come to work for whatever reason. And because they don't understand what are the consequences of the same, as an employer, you start having challenges with this employee, and the employee is wondering what is the big deal, or they are thinking, maybe I can take an off here and there, to do my own things, because it's not been laid out to me clearly what is
Yes.
expected when it comes to working hours, when it comes to reporting. And it's not just about working hours. There are many, many other areas that we have to look for. And
Yes.
when we are operating any business as employers, we need to realize there will be challenges. Where there are
Yes.
people, challenges will always be there. So the question is, why are we struggling with these challenges that come when we are having to deal with people? And one of the things I would say is probably because of lack of proper leadership. As employers, again, when we don't give clear and proper leadership to our teams, then again, eventually we'll start experiencing challenges that would come in form of indiscipline. That is one area. The other thing I would say is probably lack of proper policies and procedures, lack of proper and clear guidelines to employees to help them understand what is the expectation of me as an employee. And also from the employee's perspective, it's also important for them to understand, yes, I've been engaged, and I need to understand, just like in a home environment where there are rules when you're living with your parents, there are
Yes.
guidelines like any other institution, like in schools, there are rules and regulations. As an employee, it's also important for me to understand when I go to this workplace, there's a norm, there's a rules that, have to be implemented and have to be followed. And I need to be willing to adhere to these rules. If I'm coming from an environment where I do what I want when I want, then you will start realizing you'll face a lot of challenges as an employee when it comes to the work environment. Let me allow Mother to contribute to this because there's a lot we can talk about why, as employers we struggle and it's a headache for us.
Yes, Martha, tell us.
Thank you, Zippy, for that. And that's a good opening. I would start maybe by even just describing what is employee disciplinary management. And for me, I think it's, I would call it the correct or correction or punishment of an employee because of violating a rule or a procedure. So disciplinary management, it has to follow a fair process in dealing with the issues, and it can be negative or it can be positive.
Sure.
But then we are right now talking why it's a biggest headache for the organization. And before we talk about the headache, I'd like to venture into what Zippy was talking about, the why. Why do employees have issues or need to be disciplined? And you'll find some of them could be organizational instigated, like what Zippy is saying. If you do not have clear policies and procedures, and you let ad hoc application of things, you will find yourself having issues with your employees that you have to keep disciplining. The other thing is, if you have the procedures but you're practicing them unfairly, you're not consistent with the operational procedures, you'll find some people just doing things their way because they are feeling unappreciated, because there are some people who are being appreciated more than the others. And because of that, someone just tries to get some gain by themselves, e.g. fraud or doing some things.
Sure.
Then I can say that why it's a biggest headache for the organization, a disciplinary process is always time consuming. And it can also be emotional and it wastes resources. You might find a negative disciplinary process means sending a staff home. And this is someone you have spent money on, training, etc. So it's really a waste of resources. And it can also damage the image of the organization. So remember, gone are the days when disciplinary issues could just be handled up there and employees told of what they have done and they are sent home. These days, employees know their rights. I know, Tony, you worked in the bank.
Yes.
And you knew about collective bargaining and all.
Yes.
So at the bank, we were really aware. We had the collective bargaining and we had the law. We knew everything.
Yes.
But there are some organizations that didn't know nothing. And they would just send staff home. That is no longer there. And that's why it's a headache for the organization. Because then you can have a bad employee and it's not easy to send them home, yeah?
That's true.
You find that there are areas where the boss is telling you, Martha, send that person home tomorrow. They shouldn't come.
Yes.
But you can't do it. This person could be so bad, but it's not easy to send them home. Why? Because the law, these days, everyone is aware, and the law kind of have a positive flair towards the staff more than the employer. So those are some of the things I would say they are a headache to the organization. And should such a case go to court and then the employer loses and then they have to pay the employee, you find the penalty could be so high that the organization cannot afford. So that's why really this these discipline issues are a headache to the organization. And
Yes.
if HR managers and maybe there are some legal advisors in the organization, we need to do as much as possible to ensure that even if there are disciplinary cases, they are handled in-house without going any far, because then it could be such an expense for the organization. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Martha. You've alluded a few things that we here at Aurum Consultants find lots of time. I mean, when we're out there helping our clients sort of issues. I mean, first of all, you've alluded to something very basic: the fact that as a business, if you do not have clear policies and guidelines, you have very clear rules. I mean, policies and guidelines, job description, blah blah blah. Then the new employee you've brought in has no roadmap to work with. He doesn't, you could come from one organization where working from home is not a big deal. Coming to work at a certain time is not a big deal, as long as you deliver. Then you join another organization where things like coming at 8:01 and you're supposed to come at 8 can be an issue. You come in and you think, okay, let me have my coffee at my desk as I take my work, the way Martha is doing right now. And you find that is a no-no. That's a no-no. You're not supposed to do that, Or it could be the obvious ones, issues to do with insubordination, misuse of company resources, and many others. So this, as an employer, as somebody who is hiring, you've got to have your house in order. You've got to have very clear ideas of why we are doing what we are doing. When I'm hiring this person, what is my expectations of them? What are the boundaries that they're supposed to cross? For example, somebody might decide, you know what, I love this computer of mine, the company has issued me with. I can go home and do my stuff with it even as I come to work. And they're not aware that you're not supposed to do it. Yeah, I remember the last place I was working before we formed Aurum Consultants, my boss gave me a laptop, and he did not tell me what I'm supposed to do with it. I mean, yeah, it's work, but whether you go with it at home or retain it in the office, whether you do office work and other things, that was not clear. But I think I was aware enough to know, okay, this is a company asset, and I need to be very careful with it. So yeah, so ladies, I like the way you have explained issues to do with the usual, issues to do with the onus is on the employer to first of all set the expectations. I like the way, Martha, you've put it. If you go to school, any school, especially if you're in primary or secondary, it was very clear. These are the rules. If you're in boarding, these are the boarding dorm rules. This is when you're supposed to come for breakfast, lunch, supper. This is when it will be served. If you come after a certain time, hakuna chakula. You're supposed to dress in a certain way. There's some schools where for boys you couldn't pocket. It was clear. So by the time you're getting punished, you are aware of what you crossed and what you didn't cross. Even at homes, we all, unless you're a laser, you're casual. You're a casual parent. There has to be some rules. So that part of why there is a headache in terms of, for most employers, the fact that they may not have set the guidelines clearly is one issue, but there are several others, and we'll keep discussing them as we go. So, Zippy, there's something you want to tell us. Bring in your comment.
Thank you, Anthony, and I can agree with you more. The way you have put it very clearly. As an employer, we have a big responsibility, and I speak a lot for employers because I'm an employer in addition to just being an HR expert. And one of the things I always tell employers is, yes, we have engaged people, and our responsibility is to make sure the employees are very clear about our vision, our mission, where we are going, and we are setting very clear processes that would actually guide the employees. I would sum up some of these challenges we face as employers to lack of processes and clear processes that are not just in paper, but are implemented. Mother said something that is very true. A lot of employers actually face sometimes. You have engaged an employee who becomes very difficult for you to let them go. Yet they are such a big headache. They are not productive in the organization. And you seemingly, are looking like you're stuck with them. You have no solution. And
Mm.
the only way to resolve these challenges is to make sure your processes are very clear, very thorough, and they are implemented. And that is actually what we do at Aurum Consultants, where we come and help you put in your processes together and help you implement the same, help your teams understand what are the processes, what are the consequences of not following these processes. And when it comes to the law, actually, when you have such clear processes, you will find you not have a lot of challenges. But if you don't have the same, I can guarantee you the challenges will be very big. That's what I
Very
wanted.
true. Wow, wow, wow. This is a big topic, and I'm seeing our time is really going. And we will continue discussing this theme even in the month of July. Now, Martha, this now brings me another question. There are people, as you say, there are people out there who are very sharp. So we come and tell you, Martha, what constitutes employee indiscipline? Somebody comes to you and tells you, okay, Martha, you've talked about the employee. I mean, sasa nikikuja, if I come to the office and put my mug there and I'm with this laptop, I'm doing my work, then somebody tells me, Maze, you're breaking the rules. They don't know what employee indiscipline is. From your perspective, ideally, what would constitute employee indiscipline?
Thank you so much once again, Anthony. For me, the employee indiscipline is always things that are outlined in the employee handbook, or let me call policies, and the law, of course, the labor law. It outlines the ones that are, some of them that are very serious. So I could say general misconduct is one of the something that constitutes employee indiscipline. And what do that mean? It means that you know the law, you know the policies, most of organizations have something they call zero tolerance policies.
Correct.
And violation of those will then end up into be called indiscipline. Then maybe poor performance, not meeting targets. There are some things called like absenteeism, unauthorized absenteeism.
Yes.
There are some people who just wake up and they can't go to work and they are not even communicating. That is discipline. Insubordination to bosses. I don't know whether there are some people who can have a very powerful voice. So even when they are relating with their bosses, it tantamount to insubordination, and it's very important for people to even have a self-discipline, especially when you have a strong character. Then because that can constitute indiscipline, and maybe you didn't even mean to insubordinate.
You have a base, and you are you are disagreeing with your boss, and your voice boom, and your boss is a leader immediately. That is insubordination. And your boss into declaring you indisciplined.
Yeah, because then you are so strong and you are coming out like you are insubordinating. So even checking your own personal character, it's so important, because then it can bring you issues. Then so the other things are even violating those policies we were talking about. The zero. If you came to work drunk, if you some of those things, if you are in some of the organizations, the issues of sexual harassment are very strong, and even in the law.
Yes,
and
that's true.
Not even sexual harassment of any kind.
Yes.
Like in Kenya, during elections or pre-elections and post-elections is very sensitive.
Yes.
So if I know that we joke with Zippy, and I know she's a Kikuyu, So I'm addressing her, wewe Mukikuyu. That is harassment. And if Zippy goes to report, then you have harassed her. And yes, I have just highlighted a few, and I would like to give Zippy an opportunity to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I think you've captured it very well on the areas of indiscipline or areas that constitute employee indiscipline. And just to add on to what you've said, things like theft or mismanagement of company resources. And company resources are wide. It could be, for example, you've been provided for internet to work at work, but you spend a lot of your time on social media instead of working. I mean, you're using resources that are not meant for what you're doing, to do other things as opposed to serving your employer. It could be, you are taking away, the simple things like pens. They're not yours, but you're taking them away, and it might look like a small thing, but these are the things that end up becoming bigger things. When you find employees actually end up taking bigger, resources that belong to the organization, and you're mismanaging these resources. Mother has talked about insubordination, and these are things that again come with, clear guidelines and policies that, help employees understand these are the boundaries we need to work within. When I look at the labor laws, and I think the people who are doing the labor laws, they've seen all these challenges. There's a clear guideline and policy of how to manage employee indiscipline issues. And again, the challenge comes a lot when we don't know how to manage. Mother earlier said sometimes as an HR, your boss comes and says, I don't want to see this person here tomorrow because this employee is indisciplined. This employee has become such a headache for the organization. And the employee is feeling, you know what, I am done. I don't want to deal with this. But of course, it becomes a challenge when we don't have those clear guidelines to help us deal with these issues. So it's very important for us to know, these issues of employees absconding, these issues of employees not performing. And again, that is a really thorny issue of employee performance. We are not performing, and it becomes an issue of disciplinary. One of the things I always tell, the people I interact with, and especially employees, the minimum you're expected of by your employer is to actually meet your basic responsibilities. What is in that job description you've been told, this is what you're expected to do. That is minimum requirement that you're expected to, to make sure you accomplish. Before we start talking about other things, are you meeting those basic minimum requirements? So again, there's a lot we can talk about on this area, and I've seen a question from one of our good viewers, Michael Bocacci, asking, about employers. Could it be that employers hire more for skills than character? And I would say a lot of times, yes. And again, these issues of indiscipline we are talking about, we probably need to go back and look at how do we hire. And we've talked about hiring before in this podcast. These are subjects we can, come back and discuss again. Where you are hiring for skills and not for character. Yes, skills are important, but when you don't look at the character issues for the employees you are hiring, then you start realizing, there's a challenge. We always say, we have to consider a number of things when we are hiring. You have to consider character. You have to consider calling. You have to consider, do they have the characteristics you're looking for? Do they have qualifications and the skills you're looking for? So you don't just hire for the skill and the experience, but you also look at the person. Is this kind of a person able to fit into this organization? Will they be able to fit into the culture of this organization? And what culture are they bringing that would actually affect other employees who have been here for long, that will be positive or negative? So you weigh a lot of things when you're employing so that you make sure you bring in good people. But again, like our viewer has alluded, most of the time we overlook these issues. We hire for this because we are seeing this employee has good skills. And down the line, we start realizing there are character issues that are not going to affect them only, but will affect other employees who are working within the organization.
All right. Martha, what do you think? Our viewer has asked about this. Could it be that employee discipline is brought about by hiring more for skill rather than character?
Yeah, I can say yes and no. At times, you really need that skill. Like where I work, we need really high technical skills because then we have to work with medics. And so the skill is important. But for me, my recommendation is always to use competency-based interviewing, where
Okay.
you have the skill, you have the technical skill for this position, but then
Yes.
also you are checking the how skill of the person that you need. And so even when you have some questions, even if it's one or two, it will
Yes.
help you know the character of this person,
Mm.
even when you are interviewing. So you don't just have to look at the technical skill. Please
Yes.
also, it's good to look at the competency-based skill that really tells you about the how of this person and how they work. And you can set questions in that interview that will make you aware, kind of, you have a rough idea of who this person really is,
Yes.
and will
Yes.
they mess up with the organization. The other thing I wanted to add when Zippy was talking was, so we have the policies, we have let me call it the how we do things in this organization, but then you come in and we don't have some kind of orientation to the
Yes.
how of the organization.
The
So
how.
you could be
Yes.
having the paperwork, but people are not aware that if I do this, I'll be taken. It
Yes.
is crossing the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I recommend that initial training on the zero tolerance of the organization. That if you do this, it is going to lead you in trouble. It's very important for people to go through that, even if it's a day. It will not cost much, but
Yes.
you get the people you are employing to know where they can cross boundaries. There's a time I remember in an organization I worked, and this person, it was a driver. He did something,
Yes.
and then when he
Yes.
was being disciplined, he said, me, I've never even seen those policies you're talking about.
Yes. Yes.
So whatever he had done was fraud. And then I was wondering, do you really need a policy to know that you should not steal? I mean, but you see, he had an argument because in the letter we are quoting the HR
Policy.
Yes.
policy. Yet he
Yes.
had stolen. So you see, it's because he had not gone through that training. And so he could confidently say he had not seen. So even an employer, you have all these things in place, then please make sure that people are aware about them.
Yeah.
And even if someone comes in and you train them, then you need other periodic
Yeah.
training.
Yes.
You look
Yes.
for time to just take through, even if it's in small PowerPoints. You just
Yeah.
remind people, if you do this, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to add for that. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Actually,
Wow. Wow.
Anthony, if you could just allow me to just, just add some voice to what Mother said about these policies we keep on talking about. It's one thing to have those policies in place. It's
Yes.
another thing to have the employee understand the policies and actually consent to they understand those policies.
Uh-huh.
Because, and I think as HR professionals, we become wiser and brighter as we face different challenges every day. When an employee challenges you during a disciplinary process and they know they are wrong, but they tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. I have never seen these policies you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah, they're actually available probably even in the company, intranet. But the fact that they have not consented, they have not even signed off on the same, there is challenge
Yes.
on your own process. And guess what happens? That employee actually walks out scot free. And for a matter of fact, they know. But because there's nowhere that is showing that they know, it puts you in a very bad position. So let's not just even do the policies. Let's go a step further, educate them and get them to sign off on those policies that they have read, they have understood, and they're actually going to adhere to those policies.
All right. All right. Ladies, I can see our time is up. We have barely begun discussing, and time has flown. I mean, this topic looks like, and I know it's, as we keep doing it, I know we will get far more and more questions, people coming in, employers, managers, entrepreneurs. They can, they will all come with all manner of questions. As we conclude, I want to remind our viewers that you can always send in your comments and questions via the Facebook link that we are currently using at the moment. You can also get in touch with us via LinkedIn. You can get to us, through our email. Everything is showing at the bottom of your screen. We will continue discussing this matter of discipline, employee discipline matters in the subsequent podcast that we're coming in, and I presume that our guest Martha will be available so that we can continue. Some of the questions people watching us may wonder, Kwani the country laws do not apply in the workplace, because theft is theft. If I've caught you stealing, I mean, the country civic and criminal code still works. Now, the question of why, as an employer, as much as somebody has stolen, you don't just tell them like a work hand where kesho usikuje. There's still something extra beyond that, and we will try and handle all these matters in subsequent chats. So, Martha, thank you for coming. Thank you for being our first guests in this new season. I guess the next season of Aurum podcast for 2021. Thank you for coming, Zippy. Thank you as always for your in-house wisdom that you give us, and we really appreciate it. So, do you have any last comments, Martha, Zippy, briefly?
Okay, maybe my final comment would be that for the employer, you have a leeway in court as long as you put your documentations together.
Mm-hmm.
It will be good to go. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. Zippy, what's your last comment? I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Anthony. I think Mother has put it very well. Documentation is key. Put your documentation in order, put your processes in order, and we are here to support you and help you with that.
Thank you, ladies. Now, for viewers, thank you for logging in. Thank you for viewing us. Thank you for coming in, sparing your Saturday morning. It's not Monday, it's Saturday. Thank you for taking your time to join us. We really appreciate Monday mornings. People are not they're not amenable to podcasts, but thank you for logging in. We truly appreciate. Remember to log in next week, same time, same place, from 9 a.m. We will discuss further issues regarding employee disciplinary management, and send your questions, send your comments, your questions. We would love to discuss this matter further. So until next week, God bless. See you next time.